The fire was out, but the smoke still clung to the trees like ghosts refusing to leave. Ash blanketed the ruins of the farmhouse in a soft, gray hush, hiding everything but the twisted skeletons of what once was. Reporters whispered near their vans. Locals stood behind yellow tape, watching, waiting, wondering how the flame started and why it spread so fast. Then Boone, the county's retired K-9, broke from his handler and walked straight to the camera crew, his eyes locked on a lens. And then he turned, growling, leading them back toward the ash. The air smelled like soaked drywall, old smoke, and something sour that hadn't come from the fire. Deputy Callum Rusk tightened his grip on Boone's lead as the shepherd yanked toward the blackened ruins. Cameras clicked. Reporters murmured. Most of them had seen the dog's strange behavior, how he'd stared into the Channel 9 lens like it owed him something. Now they followed at a safe distance, phones up, breathing shallow. Boone pulled hard, claws scraping over the wet gravel, past the scorched perimeter tape that was supposed to mean something. His ears twitched forward. He wasn't barking. He wasn't panicking. He was hunting. "Easy," Callum muttered, stepping over a burnt beam. Boone responded with a guttural whine and plunged into what was left of the living room. Or kitchen. It was hard to tell. The roof had collapsed in a wide V, letting morning light drip through in threads. Everything inside was waterlogged. Charred insulation hung like torn meat from the studs. Sheriff Lund came trudging to the back of the scene, sweat already soaking through his collar. "What the hell is he doing?" "I don't know," Callum said, "but he's never done this before. Not once." Boone froze, nose low, tail rigid. Then he started to dig. The farmhouse had belonged to the Kesslers. Locals. Quiet. Kept to themselves. Dana Kessler ran a roadside flower stall just off Highway 6. Caleb, her husband, worked nights at the county garage. Neither had a record. Neither caused trouble. They had no kids, no debt anyone knew of, no enemies. But early that morning, just before sunrise, the house lit up like dry pine. Neighbors said they heard what sounded like a pop, then saw flames reaching for trees. No one got out. At least, that's what the report said. Boone dug faster. Bits of soot and char puffed upward, turning the air darker again. Callum crouched beside him, reaching into the mess. His fingers closed around something hard. Plastic, melted but still intact. He pulled it out, wiped it on his jeans, and stared. A toy, one of those old handheld gaming consoles. Pink, with a cracked screen and cartoon stickers peeled at the edges. The kind you don't buy unless it's for a child. Callum's stomach turned. He looked up. They said they didn't have any. They didn't. Lund cut in, suddenly behind him. His voice dropped. "What is that?" Callum held it out. The sheriff took it slowly, squinting. "You think it was left here before? Years ago, maybe?" Boone whined again, high and thin. "No," Callum said. "He's tracking someone recent. There's scent here. You're telling me the Kesslers were hiding a kid? I'm saying someone was here who shouldn't have been. Someone small." And Boone's locked onto it. By noon, the site was shut down. Callum wasn't sure who gave the order. Probably Lund. Maybe someone higher. Either way, news crews were pushed back behind the second roadblock, and no one was answering their questions anymore. In the command trailer, the mood had shifted. Dana and Caleb's dental records matched two of the bodies pulled from the fire. But Boone had returned to the same ash pile twice, digging, growling, circling, before he collapsed from heat and exhaustion. He never did that, not in his prime, and certainly not now, retired 6 months and barely clear for light duty. Callum had brought him along for comfort. Company, not this. "So, what now?" he asked Lund, sitting on the trailer step with a wet rag on Boone's neck. The sheriff lit a cigarette, like it was habit. "Not want. I've got 2 burned corpses, and no proof anyone else was in that house." Callum looked up. "Except the children's game console. You saw the state it was in. Could have been years old." But Boone didn't think so. Lund gave him a long, hard look. "It's a dog, Rusk. You want me to put that on the incident report? German shepherd smells ghost child?" Callum didn't blink. Boone's never been wrong. Not once. Yeah, well, Lund dropped a cigarette and stepped it out. Maybe it's the first time. But the way he said it didn't match his eyes. There was something flickering behind them, hesitation, like the truth itched at the back of his throat, and he wasn't ready to scratch. Callum knew Lund better than most. The sheriff had been a fair man once, but years in office had made him cautious, quiet. There were things he didn't say anymore, things he used to. Callum watched the older man walk off toward the news cruise, leaving only Boone's steady breathing and the buzz of summer flies behind. That night, Callum sat on his porch with Boone curled at his feet. The town of Merrill Ridge wasn't on any map worth printing. 3 stop signs, 1 diner, 2 faded churches, and a volunteer fire station that still used paper logs. People here didn't trust easy, didn't talk loud, especially not about fire. His phone buzzed. Private number. He let it ring. Then a text came through. You saw the game, didn't you? No name. No reply option. The number vanished the second he clicked it. He turned toward Boone. You smell something deeper than what you showed me? The dog opened his eyes. Didn't move, but something flickered in them. A twitch, a shift. Callum stood. Boone followed. They went back after midnight. No lights, no command trailer, no reporters. Just a soggy skeleton of a home that still steamed where the ground hadn't cooled. Callum stepped through the side yard this time, where the grass curled back on the burn line, like it was afraid. Boone led him without hesitation, past the crumbled shed and down into a hollow he hadn't noticed before, partially hidden by tall weeds and a tangle of metal fencing. That's when he saw it. A cellar door, still intact, with scorched but not split, metal handle blackened but untouched by flame. Jesus, Callum whispered. He dropped to one knee, pulled. It groaned, opened 2 inches, then stopped. Boone whined, scratched the dirt beside it. Callum reached for his radio, then stopped. If he called it in, Lund would control the scene. It'd go quiet, buried, like too many things in Merrill Ridge. He grabbed the edge of the door, leaned his weight into it, and shoved. It cracked open. Stale air spilled out, thick, coppery damp. Callum clicked on his flashlight. The stairs below led down into a root cellar. Mud walls, stone floor, a cot in the corner, and in the middle of the floor, a child's shoe, pink, charred at the sole. No dust, fresh. Callum didn't sleep. He didn't report the shoe. He didn't answer texts, because by dawn he had another visitor. This one didn't knock. A truck pulled into his drive, a black, unmarked Dodge, government plates. Boone was already growling before the man got out. Late 50s, gray suit, leather shoes too clean for the dirt road. He didn't introduce himself, just held up a photograph. You were at the fire, he said. Callum looked. The photo was grainy, taken from a distance, but unmistakable. Boone in frame, staring straight into the news camera. The man held up a second image, the burned game console, and then the third, a young girl, 7, maybe 8, brown hair, serious eyes, standing beside Dana Kessler at a flower stall. Callum's voice turned cold. Who is she? The man put the photo away. No one you need to worry about. Boone snarled. You have a choice, deputy. Stay out of this, or get transferred to somewhere you won't find anything but dirt. Callum stared, then smiled. Guess I've always been good with dirt. The man left, but not before he glanced once at Boone, almost like he knew what the dog had smelled, and what it meant. The next morning broke over Merrill Ridge like it had something to hide. Heavy mist rolled in off the ridge, muffling the roads and making the forest sweat. Nothing moved but the vultures circling above the Kessler property, and the occasional news, been rolling through town with hope still in its antennae. Callum didn't shave, didn't put on his badge. He fed Boone, poured black coffee into a dented thermos, and left without telling Dispatch a damn thing. Whatever the hell this was, it wasn't in the reports. He turned onto a dirt road north of town, tires crunching gravel, following the faint ping of a GPS signal he'd tracked from the child's game console. The device hadn't just held burnt plastic. It had a low-range tracker installed. Hidden, Professional, most likely government. It pinged again 2 miles outside the burn site. Boone growled softly from the back seat. The trees thickened. Pines gave way to ash and birch. There, off the unmarked road, sat an abandoned feed store. Roof cave in. Siding rotted to hell. But fresh tire tracks curved around back. Callum parked. Drew his sidearm. Boone tensed at the door. They moved in tandem. Inside, the store reeked of ammonia and damp straw. Shelves lay half-collapsed, mice scurried under torn bags of feed, and every inch of floor looked like it had been pissed on by time itself. But past the storage room, there was something newer, a tarp stretched over a trapdoor. Rope, padlock, broken. Boone stopped short, nose flaring. Then his tail tucked. Fear. Callum knelt, pulled back the tarp. The hatch creaked open beneath his boots. Another set of stairs. But this time light flickered below. He drew in a breath. Stay. Boone didn't argue. Callum descended. The air was warm. Too warm. At the bottom, a single bulb swung from a cord, buzzing like it hated its own light. Concrete floor. Metal cot. A makeshift toilet. And on the far wall, a mural. Crayon on drywall. Bright pinks and blues, stick figures, sunflowers. A child's drawing. He stepped closer. The stick figures weren't smiling. Their eyes were scratched out. Suddenly, a shuffle. Behind the cot. Callum's grip tightened on his weapon. I'm not here to hurt you. Silence. Then a pair of brown eyes peeked out. Too large for the small face. Gaunt. Hollow. The girl stepped into the light. She clutched the stuffed remains of a ragged teddy bear. Her wrists were bruised. She didn't cry. She just stared, like she didn't quite believe he was real. Callum lowered his weapon. What's your name? She didn't answer. He tried again, softer. Are you Anna? A flicker. Then a nod. Anna, the girl from the photo with Dana Kessler. The one no one talked about. Were you living with them? She shook her head. Were they hurting you? Another shake. Then she whispered, hoarse and dry. They saved me. Callum frowned. Saved you from who? Anna didn't blink. She pointed at the wall behind him, at the stick figure with no eyes, its body drawn in black crayon, larger than the rest. Alone. Before he could ask again, a crack echoed above with splintering. Boone barked, then yelped, then silence. Callum snapped his weapon up and rushed the stairs. He didn't make it to the top. Something slammed the hatch shut from above. Darkness swallowed everything. 20 minutes passed. 30. He used his flashlight, found a rusted crowbar behind the cot, and began pounding the hatch from below. Anna didn't flinch. She sat cross-legged by the mural, staring at the figure in black. Eventually, the lock gave. Callum shoved it open with his shoulder. The feed store was empty, but Boone was gone. No tracks, no blood, just his leash lying twisted on the gravel. Callum picked it up like it might still be warm, and then his phone rang. No caller ID. Same one as before. He answered. A voice, flat. Male. You weren't supposed to find her. Callum clenched his jaw. She's just a kid. She's a witness, the voice snapped. One that could unravel 20 years of work. You firebombed the house to keep her hidden? A pause. Then, you really think this is about the fire? Click. Callum stared at the phone. Boone was gone. And whatever this was, it went deeper than arson. That night, he broke into the sheriff's office. Old key still worked. Inside the evidence locker, he found the bag game console. Tucked inside the battery compartment was a data chip. Tiny, old school, the kind only feds used before encryption became mainstream. He pocketed it. In Lund's desk drawer, he found something else. A yellowed manila folder labeled Project Marin. Inside were photos. Dozens. Kids. All ages. All scared. Some hooked to IVs. Each photo labeled undocumented subject. But none struck harder than the one paper-clipped to a black file. Anna Kessler. Age unknown. Status high-value asset. Relocate ASAP. The note was dated 3 weeks ago. Lund had known. Callum's got twisted. They weren't just hiding a child. They were hiding what was done to her. The sheriff found him at dawn, standing at the edge of the burned farmhouse. Boone's leash still looped around his wrist. "You broke into my office," Lund said flatly. "You lied to me," Callum replied. "You shouldn't have seen those files. She's just a little girl. She's something else now." Callum turned. "What the hell does that mean?" Lund lit a cigarette with a trembling hand. "The Kesslers didn't find her. She was placed with them. Off books. Government was testing neurological conditioning on children. Mind control. Memory suppression. But Anna, she couldn't be controlled." Callum swallowed. "They burned the program down," Lund said. "Literally. Set men to kill everyone involved. The fire was cleanup." Callum looked down the hill, toward the woods. "Where's Boone?" "I don't know, but they won't stop until Anna disappears again. And anyone who's seen her, you included as a liability." A pause. Then Callum asked the one question he hadn't let himself ask. "You were part of it?" Lund's face hardened. "I didn't start it." "That's not a no. I protected this town. You betrayed every kid in those photos." The sheriff didn't answer, just walked away, cigarette glowing like an ember in the gray light. Callum stayed. The leash around his wrist felt like a noose. That night, Anna ran. He woke to find a cot empty, the back door cracked open. Gone. Except Boone's leash was missing too. And a single word scrawled on the window in ash. Truck. He didn't waste time. Callum grabbed his keys and drove straight to the last place he ever expected to go again, his father's hunting cabin. The one he swore never to return to after the man drank himself into a tree that winter. It was miles into the woods, down a road so narrow deer walked in pairs. He saw the truck first, old, rusted, government issue, still warm. Then the footprints, small, booted, and canine. Boone. He reached the cabin and pushed open the door. Boone was there, guarding, standing between Anna and a figure tied to a chair. Male, late 40s, bleeding from the temple. Callum stepped inside. Anna looked up from the corner, eyes rimmed in soot, but steady now. Calm, collected. "She found him," she said. Callum stared. "Who?" She pointed. "The man who locked me up." The man twitched. And in the dim light, Callum recognized a government agent from his driveway. "His name's not on any badge," Anna whispered. "But he came to the Kesslers 3 times. He paid them to lie." Callum stepped forward. "Tell me why." The agent coughed blood. "They were studying what makes memory stick, what makes trauma rewrite the brain. She wasn't born like this. They made her, and then they couldn't unmake her." Callum looked at Anna. She didn't blink. "They tried to make us forget. And you remembered. All of it." Outside, something snapped. Boone turned sharply. Anna whispered, "They're coming." The trees outside whispered like they were watching. Callum ducked low, hand on Boone's collar as he scanned the tree line beyond the cabin. No movement, no voices, just a quiet rush of something approaching. Controlled, trained. "How many?" he asked. The man tied to the chair gave a sick grin through broken teeth. "Enough." Callum drew his pistol. "You sent a cleanup team?" They were already coming. He leaned forward, coughing blood. This was always the end game. Anna wasn't supposed to live past the trial phase. You think they'd let her just walk into the light? Boone growled. Callum looked at Anna. "We're leaving." She shook her head. "If we run, they'll burn everything again." Her eyes didn't match her voice. They were older. Wrong. Callum froze. "What did they do to you?" Anna turned away, clutching the bear tighter. "They made me listen. Every time they tested the others. I remember the screams, even when they wiped them away. They never figured out how I kept it all. I remembered. Every sound, every smell, every face." Callum took a breath. "That's why Boone tracked you. You left something behind." "I left everything behind." Outside, the crunch of boots and leaves. Time was gone. Callum moved. He dragged the agent to his feet and shoved him toward the porch. "They won't shoot their own." "You don't know them," the man rasped. No, Callum said. But I've been a cop long enough to know ghosts make good distractions. He shoved the man out the door. Seconds later, crack, crack, 2 silent shots. The body slumped against the pine. Boone didn't move. He was already focused on Anna. She turned to Callum. They're not here to question. They're here to erase. Callum pointed toward the back. There's a trail, my old man's escape path. It runs to the quarry road. Anna didn't hesitate. Boone went first. She followed. Callum stepped out into the porch light, gun raised. Figures emerged from the trees. Not tactical. Not cops. Suits. Gloves. Black vans. They moved like ghosts. One raised a radio. Target lost visual. Cabin is... Boone lunged from the brush. Chaos exploded. The first man screamed as teeth found his throat. Callum fired twice, hitting a shoulder, then a knee. Anna ran. Boone followed, but not fast enough. A dart hit his side. He staggered, yelped. Callum turned, emptied the mag. Then he was running. Boone in his arms. Anna grabbing his jacket as they plunged into the trees. Branches tore at them. The path narrowed. Then the trees opened. Gravel. An old truck hidden beneath a tarp. Callum ripped the cover off, threw Boone in the back seat, and slammed the key into the ignition. The engine groaned, then caught. The van headlights broke through the brush behind them. Callum floored it. They made it 5 miles before the engine choked. Steam hissed from the hood. Oil light blinked red. Callum punched the steering wheel. Damn it! Boone whimpered. Anna crawled over the seat. They won't stop. Not until I'm gone. He looked at her, breathing hard. You said you remember everything. She nodded. Then we can stop them. She didn't speak for a long time. Then, there's a place, a farmhouse in Cold Hollow. It was a first sight. The real project started there. Callum stared. That's 20 miles from here. Anna just stared forward. Then we should start walking. Cold Hollow had been abandoned since the 80s. Officially, the government listed it as contaminated land. Locals whispered about chemical leaks and haunted woods. But now, even Boone seemed afraid to step beyond the crack gate. Anna walked straight through. Inside, the farmhouse sagged on itself. Paint peeled in strips. Wind hissed through broken shutters. She led them to the basement. Behind an old cabinet was a metal door. A keypad, worn smooth. Callum stared. You know the code? I remember it. She tapped 6 digits. The lock clicked. Boone barked once. Inside, a lab, dust-covered. Empty, but the walls held secrets. Photos, charts, brain scans, names, and a single reel-to-reel recorder, still powered. Anna hit play. Static, then voices. Subject 12, Anna, demonstrates persistent long-term memory despite full neural resets. Testing containment parameters. Callum leaned closer. Suggest shutting down all remaining sites. Risk of exposure is... Click. Anna stopped the reel. That voice. Callum nodded. I know it. Lund. Anna whispered. He started the fire. That night, Boone lay still beside the cot. His breathing was shallow. The dart had been laced with a paralytic. Not lethal, but enough to damage a dog that old. Callum sat beside him, hand resting gently on the shepherd's back. Anna brought him water. Watched silently. You're gonna have to go, he said finally. Where? Anywhere they can't find you. Anna didn't blink. They'll find me. He looked at her. Maybe not if the world knows who you are. You'd tell them? Not just me. He pulled out his phone, sent the chip to every reporter who still had his number, along with every file from Lund's drawer. The reel, the photos. Then he opened the door and threw the phone into the night. Now they can't shut me up. Anna stared. And what about Boone? Callum swallowed. He stays with me, no matter what. She nodded. Then I'll stay too. By morning, they weren't alone. The cabin was surrounded, not by feds, by people, reporters, whistleblowers, locals. Boone's photo, staring into that news camera, had gone viral. The image led them here. And then came the fire trucks. But not for cleanup. They came because Cold Hollow burned again. Only this time it was no accident. The building was rigged. Remote charge. No evidence left behind. But they couldn't burn the truth, because it had already spread. Sheriff Lund retired quietly 3 days later. No press release. No statement. He left town that night and was never seen again. Some said he moved to Oregon. Others said he drank himself to death in the woods. Callum didn't care. Anna was placed in protective custody, not by the government, but by journalists and civil rights lawyers who did believe her. And Boone? Boone never fully recovered. But every morning, he stood on the porch and stared at the trees. And when Callum asked him, "You miss her?" the dog only blinked, but his ears twitched toward the ridge, where Anna had gone, where no fire could follow.